So
that's why I have a new philosophy. I'm only taking the pros and taking one or two specialties. I'm not trying to get a gold members only jacket. No thanks.
I
Gold
almost got
members
that.
only jacket.
Uh-oh.
Oh no,
Pete,
we
what
lost
happened to
Pete.
Pete?
We went live and Pete jumped.
Pete's like, I'm out.
Welcome, everybody, and welcome to the State of the AWS Survey with AWS hero Pete Sankauskas, who just left. Oh no, we're screwed. I sure do hope he comes back. Oh wait, there he is. Hey.
We figured somebody scared you off. Like, hey, I'm out.
That didn't take long at all. Pete just jumped. I hit go live and he like hopped.
Sorry about
I
that.
didn't sign up for this. I'm out.
Who are these knuckleheads? I'm out.
That's it.
Well, hello everyone out there. Hello, Pete. Hi, Roger. Hi, Chris.
Hello.
Welcome to vBrownBag. We're doing this at a different time today, playing around with our times, sometimes in the evening, sometimes during the day. So hopefully, if you're able to watch the stream live, welcome. For those watching it recorded, welcome. So vBrownBag, we're here. We talk about different things, all things tech, focused on various aspects of tech, cloud, AI, DevOps, security, networking, Kubernetes, fun stuff. So today we have Pete Sankauskas. Did I pronounce that
right? Yes, you did. Sankauskas. You did great. Luckily, it's pronounced exactly how it's written.
Okay.
What's the worst mispronunciation you've had of your name, Pete?
I don't know about the worst, but my favorite is Sankauskas.
I love that,
Yeah,
dude. That's officially your nickname from now on. You're the Sankauskas. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna get ChatGPT to take a picture of you and turn it into a dinosaur.
That's such a great idea.
Yeah.
New avatar, my new LinkedIn profile. That's it.
Maybe we should do that for all of the second page guest photos. Like have their real picture up here, and then their second page is like the AI photo.
Ooh, yeah.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
With approval, of course, Pete, with approval. So
we did that for our AI lawyer last week, Flo Nichols. We double checked to make sure she was cool with having cyber robot AI lawyer.
I mean, it came out really good.
It did.
Mm-hmm.
So real quick, Pete, I have a question for you. How long have you been an AWS hero? And I guess, are there different types of AWS heroes? Can you give us a little rundown of who you are?
Sure. So I was working for a startup. I left that startup because I thought that there was some opportunity that existed within AWS. And that was whenever there was a glitch with AWS, like half the internet would go offline. I'm like, I don't know, I've learned enough techniques that this shouldn't be anywhere near as catastrophic as what it was. And so I went and started a consulting company called Answers for AWS. And I started with nothing, no reputation, no customers, no anything. And so I started doing, so friends of mine had been running the advanced AWS meetup in San Francisco, but they let it go dormant for about a year. And so I brought that, said to them, can I bring this back? Like, it's a lot of work. You sure you want to do this? Like, yes, I definitely want to do this. I need some clients for my consulting business. And so I started running the meetup again and started doing some open source, started doing some videos in the style of Railscast. I don't know if you ever watched like Ruby on Rails and Ryan Bates, like the way he did his Railscast was just beautiful. It was just always a 15-minute video and you learn something very quickly and very deep. And so I started doing that, and I entered a Netflix OSS Cloud Prize and ended up winning the best usability enhancement. So I went to the reInvent conference on Netflix. And then the next year is when AWS introduced the Heroes program in 2014. And I was one of the first 6 of those with like right next to a hero like Eric Hammond, like holy crap, Eric Hammond and me are on the same level? That doesn't make sense. But we were. And so, yeah, it was 2014 is when I became a community hero. And it started with just 6, and now there's 220-ish heroes across different categories, from community to data to containers, you name it, like there's a category for it.
That's awesome.
Mm.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Do you still have the open source thing available for people to check out?
Oh yeah, sure. If you go to GitHub and go to, let's see, if I go to the legacy site. Actually, should I share screen so you can just see what I'm doing?
Yes.
Sure.
Sean, did you want to go through the show notes or just jump right into it?
No.
Okay, we'll jump right into it.
Yeah, we can jump right into it.
Let's do it. Have you shared with StreamYard before, Pete? Are you familiar with the interface?
Getting there.
Oh, there you go. Add to stage. Boom.
Ta-da! So this was the thing that I won the cloud prize for. It was it's a little old, it's a little dated right now, but in 2013, 2014, Netflix were really promoting their open source. And they were showing the world how to do microservices at scale and go and run a lot of their different services. And so they had Aminator for creating AMIs. They had Asgard for, it was sort of their first version of the AWS console, where you could deploy an application and watch it scale across multiple EC2 instances. This was even sort of before containers really took off. And there was a couple of other services that they had. ICE was for cost analysis, and Simian Army was things like Chaos Monkey and things like that. There's actually more monkeys behind that. And what I noticed is that all of their open source was there, it was available, but it was near impossible to get up and running. And so I created some Ansible playbooks and created some AMIs so that it was very easy for someone else to get this up and running. And that's why the usability award was the most appropriate for the work that I'd done. So I haven't touched this in, I don't know, a decade. Yeah, 11 years, 8 years. There you go.
Wow.
Was the last time I touched this. So it's there if you want it. It also kind of reflects the amount of interest that Netflix has had in continuing to promote their open source. They have, they used it primarily as a recruiting tool, and they did an amazing job and got some of the brightest people working there. So I think it served its purpose as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Excellent. And so today, it was great to go down that tangent, and excellent to see sort of like the project that got you to the AWS Hero status. But I think today we're talking about a state of AWS survey that you hold annually, right? And I think we're going to go through it today. Are we going through it live? We're going to do it live?
Well, I'm going to need some volunteer to go through and answer the questions as we go through, but we can certainly talk about the survey as well as some of the interesting points that came out of last year's data before we get into doing it this year, if that works for you.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about the survey and the purpose of it.
Yeah, sure. So
a little bit of interesting data you found from it over the years.
Yeah, it was only just over a year ago that I was talking to Chris and others at the reInvent conference and saying, where do I find trend data? Like, how do I find out which services are people using and which services are people liking? And I got pointers to a few different things. Like Datadog does a state of the cloud report, and that gives you usage data because that's what Datadog can have in some aspects of it, but it doesn't tell you if people actually like using it. A lot of people use Jenkins or have used Jenkins. Do people still like using Jenkins? Should I be using something else? These were the questions that I struggled to answer. And I had friends that even as recently as last year, year before, were starting new projects and using Elastic Beanstalk. And I'm like, there's some better options that are there. But I never had any data to point them at. All I had was like my opinion of like, please don't.
Right.
And so I had this like need for this. And then the other thing that happened was I found something called the state of JavaScript. And that was a fantastic set of data that I'm like, oh, this is what I want. Like, I want this, but I want this for AWS. And it showed different trends. So pick a front-end framework like Angular. Do people still use Angular, or has React taken over the front end? But what are the sort of the trends? Where are the new things coming in? Do people like them? Do people not? And you could get all of that data because they had this survey where they were running every year and then publishing all the results for it. And so I contacted the creator of that survey and said, can I steal your idea? He's like, yes, and here's the code for it. The code for it was pretty involved. And so I'm like, I don't need all of that. All I need is a way of running this this survey and going and having a couple of charts at the end of it. So what I did was the first year I created a Google form. Like, it really doesn't have to be more complicated than that. So I embedded a Google form into the website and started promoting it and got about 300 responses. And from that, I compiled all of the results and produced the 2023 summary. So I can present that. If I go back to here. Is that sharing?
No, not yet.
There we go.
There it is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so for 2023, we had, 331 people respond across all of these different topics. And what that allowed us to do is we could go into things like infrastructure as code and see, all right, AWS is really used, like a lot. Not surprising. But people don't particularly like it all that much. And if you go to the positive negative split for CloudFormation, would not use again, 31%. That's interesting. Like for the tool that AWS is using, or is promoting so much.
Previous slide, just for 1 second. The previous, scroll up.
Yeah.
What's that top one? Oh, is that Terraform? Oh, that's so interesting. Okay, just move on. I'm just idly curious about something about that. That's so cool. I appreciate that.
and so this year, what's really exciting is that we're going to have trends. What I mean by that is this is the chart that started it in my brain. Like, I want to be able to look at something and see where it goes over the years. And this is the second year I'm running it, so I have a trend line of 2 data points. Yes, but it's you got to start somewhere. This is what I'm really curious about producing. And so for CloudFormation, I'm curious if the positive negative split that we have here, now that CloudFormation has introduced loops in the last year, has that changed anyone's opinion? I don't know. Let's find out. That's the purpose of producing these surveys. Also, Terraform went through and did a relicense this year, and now there's OpenTofu. How is that going to change how Terraform is being used? I debated with myself of whether when someone goes through the survey, so we can go through and start a piece of that, whether to combine the two or have them separate. I did a combination because I feel like it's only been, 6 months, maybe a bit more, that OpenTofu split out of Terraform. So hasn't been a full year yet, but we'll see. There's a place for comments at the bottom of each page. And so if people have opinions on this, then maybe I'll split it out next year.
I was going to ask if you have any place to put in potentially other options, which it looks like you do. Will those show up in the charts that you're planning to build too, or
yep.
Are you going to use those to like potentially create new subjects or topics in the future?
Yeah, exactly. So last year I had these ones come up, and I did some research from where they were last year and where they are today, and they hadn't, in my opinion, and yes, I'm the one running it, so my opinion somewhat counts. In my opinion, none of them had sort of made it become popular enough that they weren't including into the survey, because every question that I include in the survey takes more time. And if you want to have historical data, the survey doesn't really ever get shorter. And so every question that I add is painful.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I've got the mentions for other things here, but I don't have data across them. And last year, these were mentioned by a handful of folks, not really enough to even make a percentage point on any of these charts. And so I'm like,
right,
not worth including.
Right.
Yeah, so that's sort of where I left it with that. And then for CI/CD, here's the Jenkins question, right? It's still the top one being used across the industry. That shocked the hell out of me. I did not think that was going to be the most used CI/CD tool. The retention of these tools, though, GitHub Actions is killing it. And so I'm not sure if GitHub Actions is actually going to overtake Jenkins this year. I suspect it might.
Can you explain the difference between usage versus retention? Like what is that story saying?
Yeah, sure. So here's the calculations at the bottom. So usage is I've used it and would or would not use it again, meaning if you've used it and you wouldn't use it again, or you've used it and you have, you would recommend someone use it. Either way, you've used it. And you do that over the total responses that you get for that. And so that's how you get the usage calculation. And this is very blatantly stolen from here. It's the same calculation.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so that's what usage means.
Gotcha.
And that's why the survey is sort of structured in such a way that as you go through there, you either like have no idea about the thing, like just nothing, or you've heard of it and you're interested in it, and you're not interested at all. Like you've heard of the service, you know it exists, but you have no interest in learning it or putting any time into research about that service. So that's like you're ambivalent. That's I'm not interested. And then even more is if you have used it and you would not recommend it to someone else. So they're the most negative sides of it. If you haven't used it but you're curious, you want to learn about it, that's one of the options there. And then the step above that is, yes, I've used it and I would definitely use it again. And so they're the options as you go through the whole list.
Awesome.
Going back to the CI/CD side, CodeStar is going to be discontinued at the end of this year. Did you guys know that?
I didn't. No.
Yeah. If you go to AWS CodeStar, there's a big discontinuation notice right at the top here.
Wow.
Yeah. And so we should see the trends for CodeStar, which it did not have a lot of retention anyway, and no one really used it that much. I'm not totally surprised, but it's a thing.
So before we get into doing the actual survey, this information is hugely valuable. Has AWS approached you to hire you to continue this or contract you to, I mean, because you would think that everybody would want to know this information, especially the company that's making all these services.
And one that really loves getting feedback from people like all the time.
I have had an AWS employee reach out to me through the Heroes Slack and say, hey, we'd like to use some of the data from this internally. Do you have any problems with me doing that? I'm like, no, that's why I created this. Go for it. And if you go to the summary page, anyone can download the data anyway. And you get the JSON blob of all of the data that's there. So.
Right, but if you get bored with this, are they going to pick up the reins?
Exactly, sure. There's certain value to something being
agnostic,
not AWS sponsored.
Yeah.
Like even just in the questions, I've got Terraform, Ansible, Pulumi. Like these are in some ways competitors to the AWS offerings.
Right.
Even under serverless, I've got serverless framework and SAM. I can do that because I'm not part of AWS. I don't have to worry about that. I make sure that I spell everything correctly the AWS way, whether it's an AWS or an Amazon. Like I know their trademark. People are very
so frustrating,
religious about that.
I always mess it up too.
Yeah.
If they haven't contacted you on it, I think you're fine.
Oh yeah, they know it exists. They've used it internally. No one has a problem with this. Actually, when I created the company Answers for AWS, it was originally called AWS Answers. And I got a message from them saying, we need you to change the name of the company. AWS and something after it is one of our trademarks. You can't do that. It has to be a for AWS or with AWS, or like they had a bunch of joining words. And so I had to rename the company to Answers for AWS. So I've gotten slapped a couple times, and I know how to. I know that this would not be something that AWS would want to shut down. Hiring me for that, no one's approached me for that. It could be interesting. I don't know if it's a full-time job.
And you would be de-heroed too, so there's that downside as well.
Exactly.
Okay, that was sorry for taking us down that side road, but I mean, I love this information, so I'm just curious how much AWS loves it too. Okay, all right.
Yeah, definitely. This was an interesting point last year. Serverless Framework and SAM were tied for usage. Like when I started doing serverless and Lambda, Serverless Framework, I love that thing. I had Austin come and speak at the Advanced AWS meetup as soon as he posted it on Hacker News. Like it was all in on the serverless framework. And then SAM pretty blatantly copied the way that Serverless Framework was doing everything. And to the fact that it got up to 50% usage and like on par with it, I'm like, oh, okay, that's actually pretty surprising. However, the retention for SAM over Serverless Framework is higher. And so playing that out a whole extra year, it wouldn't surprise me if SAM actually beat out Serverless Framework in the next year. I don't know. We'll see what the data has. The survey's still open till February 16th. And so plenty of time for people to still fill this out. But that would be my guess. Or CDK overtakes both of them. Maybe. I don't know.
Wow. Exciting to see what happens.
And it's interesting too, because the CDK on the infrastructure as code side was ranked lower than Terraform. And I think even CloudFormation.
On the ISE side, yes.
Right. But on the serverless side, where, so the infrastructure as code side is probably going to be more DevOps folks that are infrastructure cloud platform team minded, and the serverless side is probably going to be more application developers. So it's interesting to see the dynamics there, right? Where maybe app developers are using CDK because they're familiar with the libraries and all that stuff. That's a cool like cross
Yeah, it's a slice of the demographics.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and this would probably be more CDK written in TypeScript. This may slightly lean to the Python side.
Right.
Maybe. I don't know. I haven't gone to that level of detail. And then Application Composer was only brand new when I did the survey last year. And so I suspect that it will increase quite a bit because it's pretty cool the way you can just compose your application visually on a canvas. Have you guys tried it yet?
I have not.
I have not. I played with it on a stream one time, but not like down into it.
Nor have I heard of AWS. Is that Chalice or Chalice?
Chalice, yep.
Chalice.
Yeah, it's an older one, but it is there. So 10,000 stars, 1,000 forks, but still like active. Yeah.
All new toys to play with. So fun.
I know, right? In the container space, the interesting thing that I had from last year is that look at this awareness. If you're in containers, you know how to run the containers all the different ways. There's no, what is it, Corey's 17 ways of running containers in AWS?
Yep.
Like, everyone knows all the different ways. And what's, is it this one? Yeah, also the happiness levels around the way containers are run, like what is your happiness level with the tooling and the ecosystem and things like that, was also generally quite high here. So people didn't seem to have too many issues with this. On the databases side, one of the things that I added last year, so you were asking before if other was something that would ever make it into the survey. Yes, QLDB, or the Quantum Ledger database that AWS has. I don't know why they call it quantum. It has nothing to do with quantum. It's all just blockchain stuff. They have a whole other system bracket that is actual quantum computers, but whatever. The QLDB was added to the list of NoSQL databases this year. So that you will see the full data for that up here this year. This is one of the areas where I could have added more external vendors. So for example, MongoDB has their whole Atlas hosted database service that I was using at the previous company that I was working for. And so that could have been added in here. But if no one mentions it, then it's not really high enough to add it in here. So that's a thing. And I think it was Cassandra that had probably the biggest no interest space here. It had its time.
So, question about that graph. There's a section that's like darkly colored, and then a section that's lighter colored. What's the difference there between the two?
Yeah. So what you're trying to get is sort of the general sentiment of this, and so if you answered would use it again, that's the darker part, and you're interested in learning is the lighter part. And so you take both of those, and those are the positive side of the answers that you could do from there. The negative side is I would not use it again, or I'm not interested in it. And so what this doesn't have is people that answered, I've never heard of this, I don't know what it is, or skip the question entirely.
Gotcha.
So that's how you get that positive negative split.
Hey, Pete, I do have a question. I posted it earlier. I know you're still working on the 2024 survey, but do you expect that like the generative AI for being used for a lot of these different tools, do you expect that the numbers are going to change drastically because of the emergence of generative AI?
That's a great question. I have no idea. Have a look at this. These are all the AWS services that I included last year, and there was this weird thing that appeared in the other. I'd never heard of it. Had anyone heard of it in January
Isn't it weird
last year?
It's literally only like 8 or 9 months old. It has taken over everything in less than a year.
Yeah.
So that's definitely been added.
I'm assuming you're gonna put Q in there as well.
I didn't, because to me that doesn't seem like a standalone service. I can't use Q to go and do some other things. It's more of a
it's
more
reference.
of a
It's not a
agent
door.
that just lives within the there.
AWS.
So yeah, that would be sort of like under OpenAI, splitting out ChatGPT from DALL-E from like a bunch of the other things. Like just that is general. And so this year, OpenAI was added, as well as Bedrock was added to this list. And so I think all up, I added 4 additional questions, because the other one that I added was under events. The DynamoDB streams was something that a fair few people wanted within this list. And so I went and included that. And so those were the additional questions that I added this year.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's been fun building this. This year for the survey itself, as you can see, I didn't use a Google form. I actually built this myself. And this one was using some code that ChatGPT may have helped me with. But it helps keep me fresh on how to do front-end development as well. And so instead of using an embedded Google form, which had a bunch of issues, one, you need to sign in with Google for it. And what I wanted to do is the bare minimum of preventing people from spamming this or creating duplicates and things like that. So I've got a couple of protections that are in there that just stuff that I coded up. But it doesn't require a Google login. And so that gets rid of one of the barriers to entry, to actually filling out the form. And then I did the backend just as a very simple, basic serverless backend. And so the hardest part of getting this working is always cause. So that's it. That's how I've got the survey all built. Who wants to be the guinea pig that wants to go through it?
I nominate Sean.
Hey. All right.
Excellent. All right. So yeah, as we go through this, let me know what to click. So CloudFormation.
Never heard of it. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'd use it, and I'd definitely use it again. It's interesting. I didn't hear the announcement about them supporting loops, so I'll have to go check that out.
Yeah, that was probably about 6 months ago now, I think.
Oh,
you have to use an additional transform, but it's there.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Terraform, never heard of that.
You're real.
What are you doing, buddy? You're killing me.
Use it. I would use it again. If I didn't say that, I probably wouldn't have a job tomorrow. So
I would fire you. I would rat you out and then fire you.
So this seems like it's going to impact the data. Chris, you may have to leave the stream. We want Sean to be open and honest with these responses here. Like none of the corporate burden as you go through this. Yeah, exactly.
Fair enough. I did it last year without Sean making fun of me. I will shut up and mute myself. How's
there that? You go. All right. This should only take 5 minutes. This is going to take longer for us. CDK.
So I've used it. it's hard because I think of it as like I use it and would use it again, use it and would not, or used and may use it again. I
Well,
would
even
say,
if you would like, yes, I've used it, but I don't use it currently. If you would consider using it for another project, that last one is still the correct answer because you would use it again. You just don't have the opportunity right now.
right. I guess, but so I guess I would use it, but my sentiment is still sort of I would use other tools before it, most likely. So like I'd use it again if I had to, but I really like wouldn't want to.
What don't you like
Maybe.
about CD?
So I liked it for certain projects. I found the abstraction above the abstraction to be more complicated when it came to trying to troubleshoot things.
Sure.
So
Yep.
because I'm really just abstracting a synthesis to CloudFormation that then is just CloudFormation that's getting pushed up. So I appreciated it. And it's been like I should caveat this with it's been about a year since I've used it, so I'm sure they've made a ton of improvements. But I just found that sort of the abstraction above the abstraction, when there's something went wrong, it was a little bit difficult to figure out like, okay, this is what's wrong. Maybe it's gotten better. I don't know. I haven't looked at it in a while. So I would say I would use it again. I would explore using it again just because it's been a while since I've used it.
Yep.
Yeah. So the next one, I used it and I would use it again. And I honestly think that. So let me ask you this though. So used it, does that include used it like in production or used it for some stage of my SLDC, or is it just like I've tested it?
All of the above. You've done more than never used it at all, like not even gone through a tutorial, not like run it on your laptop. Even if you've run something on your laptop, you've used it. You've got some hands-on experience.
Okay.
And what that indicates is that their marketing pages were enough to get you to actually spend some time and energy on something. And whether you used it a little bit or you used it all the way through to production and you're evangelizing it, they got you over that hump.
Sure. That makes sense. So Pulumi, I've used it. I at this time I would not use it again. Ansible used it. I would use it again. Never used it, and not interested.
Anything missing?
Not that I can think of. And then overall, skill, happy. How are you with the current state of infrastructure? I'd say very happy. Yeah.
One of the few. All right, moving on to continuous integration, continuous deployment tooling.
Okay. So code build. So I've used that. So I would say for these three, I've used them and I would use them again. CodeStar, never used it. And I guess I can't learn it anymore because it's going away. Code Catalyst, I've heard of it recently, actually, on a past episode of vBrownBag. And if anybody else has just heard of Code Catalyst, go check out that episode. Before that, I didn't hear about it. So I've heard of it and I am interested. I'd like to learn more. Never heard of this. Not sure what it is.
It's funny because AWS Proton was in a keynote I think 3 years ago. And the sentiment around like following the keynote was, wow, they've got a lot of really smart people working on this. I have no idea what this thing does. So it may have been too theoretical to take off. I don't know.
Yeah, could be. GitHub Actions, Circle CI, I've used them. I'd use them again. Jenkins, I've used it. This is a tough one. I've used it. I'd probably use it again if I had to, but given the proliferation of CI/CD tools out there and the ease of getting enough to do what I need them to do, I'd probably use one of those over Jenkins. So I'd say not use again, yeah. GitLab CI/CD, I've used it. I'd use it again.
Anything missing?
Nothing that I can think of. Yeah, nothing that I can think of.
And happiness?
I'd say a 4.
Love that confidence in your voice. All right, serverless. Sam, serverless framework, CDK.
Okay. So Sam, I've used it. I'd use it again. Serverless framework, I've actually heard of it, but I've never, at least I don't remember ever using it. So I'd be interested to learn it. CDK for managing serverless apps, like, yeah, I'd use it and use it again, like on the first piece. Amplify, I've heard of it. I've never used it. For what I do, I'd probably be not interested. So I'd mark it as not interested, to be honest.
For Amplify?
It's just, yeah, just I don't have the need to use it. Application Composer, I've never heard of that. And I guess I'd like to learn what it is. Yeah. Chalice, never heard of it. Not sure what it is.
Yeah, we just had to look that one up for you.
Yeah, same thing with Lambda. I never heard of it. Not really sure what it is. Serverless options not on the list. None coming to the top of my mind. I put a 3 here.
Ooh, least happy so far. What do you want to see change in serverless land?
It's probably more for my experience using them, but I haven't used them enough to see how many dials I can turn. Like, it seems like Sam is very easy to get things like up quickly, but I don't know like how much of it can I tweak, right? Versus how much is abstracted away. So I'm putting 3 as like neither happy nor unhappy. That's how I look at that. So
Yep.
Yeah.
I just saw a message pop up. Lambie was Ken Collins. Yes, and I think he's coming up in a week or so on the brown bag.
Nice. Make sure to check it out, people. ECS, EKS, self-managed. Yeah. So I'm one of those people like, as you mentioned, Corey has that thing. How many millions of ways to run containers? I've used ECS. I'd use it again. EKS. I'd use it again. Self-managed Kubernetes on AWS. Yeah, I mean, I'd use it. I would not really use it again if I could do it all on the managed stuff. So I'd put that. Fargate, yes, use it again. Lambda, use it. I would use it again. Used it and would not use again. not a huge fan of Beanstalk. I mean, it's cool, but I wouldn't use it again. Lightsail. I've heard of it, but I've never used it, so I'm not interested. App Runner, never used it. Actually, I've heard of it. I'm not really interested. Yeah. And this one, never heard of it. Well, yeah. I mean, I know what Red Hat OpenShift is, so to me, that's kind of still self-managed Kubernetes, but I haven't used Red Hat OpenShift on AWS. So, yeah. I'd say that I'm pretty happy with the plethora of containers, so I put a 5 there. Container options, yeah.
Excellent. Database
side.
Oh
boy. Let's see. Chris, at any time you can chime in here, or is this just me? Is this just all me here?
No, this is all you.
Okay. All right.
I'm actually filling it out too, so that we can give Pete more data points. But I'm keeping my mouth.
Thank you.
So I'm actually already done. Sean's taking forever.
All right, DynamoDB, use it again. Jeez, Chris. All right, well, we do have only 14 minutes left. So, DocumentDB, used it. I'd use it again. Key spaces, heard of it. Not interested for what I need to do. Redis, used it. I'd use it again. Used it. I'd use it again, but I'd probably prefer Redis over Memcache, but whatever. MemoryDB for Redis. Never used it. Would like to learn. Neptune. Never used it. Would like to learn. QLDB. Never used it. Would like to learn. TimeStream. I've used it. I'd use it again. And then that one I've used it, and I'd use it again. So these are all no. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I for the SQL databases, I purposefully kept them out because to me they're just staples. Like Postgres is not going anywhere, MySQL is not going anywhere. There's different flavors of how managed you want it to be, but it's just a staple. Whereas these are very different set of technologies. So I don't know if it was the right decision or not to keep the SQL ones out, but I did.
Yeah. It'd be interesting if you had like an RDS versus Aurora like thing too. Like which one?
But then how prefer? Aurora? Like regular Aurora or serverless Aurora? Do you want to manage the disk and the CPU, or just the disk, or neither? Or
True. Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah. I'd say I'm very happy with this. Just again, there's so many choices. I think that's one of the good things about AWS is they offer so many database choices. So yeah, I'd say very happy. Step functions. I've used that. I definitely would use that again. I'm a fan of step functions. They're fantastic. Event Bridge. Yes, I use it. I would use it again. Kinesis. I've used it. I'd use it again. You almost have to for certain things in AWS. MSK, I've never used it. I would like to learn. SQS, used it, use it again. SNS, used it, I'd use it again. Amazon MQ, I've never used it. I'm not really interested given what I do. AppFlow, never heard of it, actually. I'm not sure what that does. Is this simple workflow? Is this simple workflow? Are we bringing that back? Yep. That's awesome.
It was one of those things that you have in there just so that you can see the trend for it.
So I've used it, but I would not use it again. I'd use step functions over that. DynamoDB streams. So I've Yeah, I've never used it, but I'd like to learn. Actually, I know about DynamoDB streams. I've just never had a chance to use it. So that's not an option. So let's see.
Well, you haven't used it, right? Like,
yeah. I've learned enough for the test to be like, oh, this is what DynamoDB streams does. So actually used it? Not yet. Event-driven architectures and event buses not mentioned. And it doesn't have to be specifically with AWS, right? It could be like any.
Yeah, absolutely.
But does it have to affect AWS architecture?
Does it have? What do you mean?
Or I guess potentially.
What do you have in mind? Let's talk through the concrete example.
I'm just thinking something like well, I guess it's not something I use currently. Something I'd like to learn more about is like OpenFaaS and stuff like that. But that's mostly in like Kubernetes, and I don't actually use it. I've just heard about it, and I'd like to learn more.
Okay. How do you spell that? Open?
FAAS, function as a service.
Spelled that way, I suppose.
Right. But I mean, overall, I put a 5 here. Primarily, that 5 is coming from step functions because, like I said, step functions are awesome.
All right, AI ML, last one on this list before we get to demo.
All right, SageMaker. I've used it. I'd use it again. Augmented AI. I've never heard of that, but I'd like to learn what that is. I'm not sure what it is though.
Let's go with that one then.
Yeah.
Bedrock.
Never used it. Would like to learn. Comprehend. I've used. I'd use it again. Elastic Interface. I've heard of it. Or inference. Sorry.
So good.
I've heard of that. Not really interested in what I do. I've heard of it. Not really interested in what I do. Personalized. I've used it. I'd use it again. Poly and Rec. I've used all of those, and I'd probably use it again. Actually, scroll up. Yeah. Transcribe. Translate. Yeah, I've used all of those. I'd use all of those again. Yep.
Would you use it again?
I try as much as I can to not use that, but sadly, it's everywhere. Well, I use Hugging Face models because it's local and I can do it offline. And then I'm not like feeding my information to the machine.
Gotcha.
So, you know, I download the model and I run it locally on the Mac. It's not as good. It takes a lot, you know, it takes a little longer, but it's also not. But I heard actually you can tell ChatGPT to not use your data for training, but is that only like if you're paying for it? I don't know. But I try to use Hugging Face when I can and Hugging Face models.
Yep.
So
I added that in for you.
I'd say AI ML tools are, yeah, I mean, I put a 4 there or 5. 4. I feel like this is rough. I'm on like recorded.
I know.
This is gonna live on the internet in perpetuity.
I mean, yeah, that's how the internet works.
You don't know the amount of hate mail I got from the survey from last year. So yeah, this is going to be awful for you, Sean.
Oh God, now I have to answer how old I am. Okay.
Only if you want to.
No, it's fine. I'm not. It's all good. I am okay here. So is it ranges or is it like my actual age?
Ranges. Oh, you can't see the drop downs. So they are under 18, 19 to 24, 25 to 34, 35 to 44, 45 to
35 to
54.
44.
There you go. All right. Why
United
does
States.
screen sharing not let you have this? What's so weird? Years of experience.
Are these also ranges?
They are ranges. 1 to 2, 3 to 5, 6 to 10, 11 to 15, or more than 15.
6 to 10.
Company size, 1 to 5, 6 to
This is the first
25.
question. I'm actually not that sure.
2000.
2000.
Industry is the full list that you see on every AWS thing.
Computers.
Computers and electronics, or software and internet.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Most people are software and internet. And then role, should it be developer engineer or IT executive, IT professional? I mean, we're doing this interview,
Solution
so
engineer, DevOps engineer, some.
There's also system administrator if you want
Chief
that.
bottle washer.
Chief what?
Chief bottle washer.
Chief bottle washer.
So we've got that, or we've got that. Which would you prefer?
He's more of a developer engineer.
All right.
Yeah. I did it live on vBrownBag. Yeah. We should have had the meme overlay with who's that guy? Who is the news anchor? The do it F it, we're doing it live. Who is that guy?
Oh, what's his face? Bill O'Reilly.
Bill O'Reilly. We'll have to go back and edit this and like slap that meme on when we say do it live.
How could we improve the survey by not having Chris heckle?
Yes.
And then,
so I would say, how could we improve this survey? Maybe if you had, I don't know, it'd be hard. Like you said, you don't want to add a lot of work, but like maybe for me, because for me personally, when you said like, would I use it, or like used it, would use it again, used it, would never use it again. It'd be interesting. I think it'd be interesting if you said like, if you answered used it, never use it again, would you prefer to use another service in this list over this choice? You know what I mean? Like, for example, I don't know, like CDK and Terraform. Like I used the CDK before, but I wouldn't use it again because I would prefer to use Terraform, or I prefer to use CloudFormation or something, right? But that would be the other option that you're presenting in your survey. So then you could see trends of like where people are going to and like their preferred tool choice, you know? I don't know. Just a thought.
So does that sum it up?
Because that's what kind of was hard for me to answer some of those questions. Like, yeah, I'd use it I'd use it, and I would use it again if I was forced to, but I would prefer to use something else, right?
Yep.
Right, exactly. Yep.
If I was in the movie Saw and I had to use Terraform.
Right.
And then for the last one, I don't know if you want your email on this video, so we can just hit submit and skip that if you want.
Yeah, we'll just skip that.
Sure.
We're not going to put Sean's reminders up there.
All right, and now you have to tweet, like, and subscribe.
Nice. Cool. And
awesome.
That was perfect timing. We are literally 1 minute away from wrap. Good job, team.
I'm so glad that we did all those rehearsals.
Literally all the data in there is just us three, just mucking about with it.
Yep.
Well, no, that's awesome, Peter. I'm excited to see the results of the survey, actually. So happy to have walked through it with you, and thanks so much for coming on and sharing it with us. And
My pleasure.
yeah, it was nice to meet you. And
yeah,
when do you close the survey again?
February 16th. And so we've got about 2 weeks more of results. And so everyone go promote it in all the places possible. Because the more people that fill it out, the better the data is.
And when, how much time between the time that you close it and the data is ready, or is it immediately ready when you're finished with it?
It won't be immediately ready. I need to actually go through it and clean it up and then put it into the graphs, because this site is all static. And so it's not actually pulling from a database and reading the data live. I put it in a JSON object that you can then download, but that's what's used to power all of the graphs. And so it'll be a week, maybe 2 afterwards that I'll publish them.
Awesome. Well, we will encourage everybody. The link is right there, and we'll put it in the show notes as well. And we'll get everybody to fill out the survey for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Cool. All right, folks. Well, everybody else have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.